Another lesson that could be next is not befriending people who don't like you at first. You're probably watching this video like, how could you become friends with somebody that you know doesn't like you? Maybe I'm a little too accepting of people. I'm working on it. Dude, if you're thinking about getting a Google Pixel, just don't. Like, setting this thing up is mad annoying. Not only that, I have to actually go into my settings and tap the microphone button every time I make a cut. I might try to record this whole thing in like one sitting. Let's get started. This is Savette's Diary. If you know me from my other channel, I don't intend for that channel and this channel to be connected. Like, all my interests, pretty much everything behind me, that's for the other channel. This is for more personal, internal stuff that I would like to share with the world, just because I think we're living in a time where people want to connect more than ever. And so many people are going through different things. Rather than talking to AI, you can also talk with people who may be going through similar things. One thing that everybody eventually does go through is turning 30. Last year, I turned 30, and as a preparation for hitting 30, I think I learned like one of the most valuable friendship lessons that is going to last me the rest of my life. This was a very important lesson for me to learn, and I'm here to tell you guys what those lessons are. It's actually more than one lesson rolled up into an experience with one particular person. I'm not going to be going into details about the person, but I had a very intense friendship breakup recently, which was very difficult to navigate. But now that I'm like outside of it, or now that I've finished processing everything about that, my outlook on the friendships that I'm going to make in the future after this incident is very, very positive. Like, I genuinely feel like I learned a lot coming out of this friendship, and I've also gained a friend, gained a pretty good friend that I think I'm going to grow close with. So it's kind of like give and take, and I'm really, really excited about that, but I'm not going to go into that until later. For starters, this video is going to be good for people who are about to turn 30, or people who need advice on how to navigate friendships better. This is probably going to be a video that's better for extroverts. I am an extroverted person. Sitting here filming and talking to a camera is significantly harder for me than talking in real life to real people. I would much rather be talking to people, maybe not outside because I'm not an outdoors person. You know, I'd rather be in a cafe chatting it up with like 5 or 6 people. That's genuinely where I am comfortable. The way we're going to get started is talking about some of the lessons I learned in my 20s, and these are going to be very, very brief. I think some of the most important lessons I've learned in my 20s about forming friendships is, one, observing people before talking to them. When people first meet me, I'm very quiet, and it did not always used to be that way. I just went through one too many situations of talking to the wrong person, and that eventually instilled the lesson into me that, hey, you need to observe people quietly, especially the way they talk and communicate with others, how they talk about others. Generally speaking, when I enter new settings, I'm very, very quiet, even though I'm an extroverted person, and that is definitely intentional. I'm being quiet on purpose. I'm silenced, I'm listening, I'm taking in my environment and making observations in order to decide who I want to connect myself with, whether I want to connect myself with anybody at all. Like, that is one of the most valuable lessons I've learned in my 20s so far. I'm 30 already. The 20s are over. Yeah, that's one of the most valuable lessons. And another lesson that is adjacent to that lesson is the lesson of leading with seriousness before leading with goofiness. I am a very goofy person, but I do have moments where I can be serious. I used to lead with my goofy fun side first, but I realized very quickly that people who are very humorous are seen as if they don't have a brain. I've realized being seen that way can lead to problems. So for me, I am always going to be leading with my serious side. And when I get to know somebody, or if I've observed somebody enough to know I can show them kind of like my more comical side, then I will show them that side. I know there's like a certain group of people that are like, well, I'm not gonna let anybody stop me from being myself. Now, if you want to just lead with your humor because that's who you are, then go for it. For me, it's actually made my life my quality of life better leading with seriousness before allowing people to access my energy, access the parts of me that are light. Now we're going to talk about the lesson I learned around the age of 29, right before turning 30. This is the cherry on top for my 20s. I'm about to turn 31 this year, but I consider this the most powerful set of friendship lessons that I'm learning. And I am so thankful to learn this lesson before entering my 30s, or like right on the cusp of transitioning to my 30s. I feel very, very enthusiastic about it, so I'm about to share it. Let's do it. The reason why I learned these set of lessons is because of a very dramatic friendship breakup. It didn't have to be dramatic, but it somehow ended up that way. And at first I was kind of mourning it. I was like, oh, this really sucks. How did we end up here? But after taking time to reflect, pulling back and just observing, and also thinking about the trajectory of the friendship, I realized that I should have been wiser about the whole thing, and that things ending here is actually one of the best things to happen to me, especially as my life continues to get better. I'm starting to kind of have a firmer grasp on my identity, which that's what the people in their 30s say. They're like, you're just gonna have like this idea of yourself. You're gonna feel more firm in who you are. You're gonna feel like you don't care about what other people think of you as much. That is exactly how I feel in my 30s. Like at this point, I don't even care. I feel so happy and I look forward to the future. Hopefully I'll be living for a while. Hopefully I'll make it through my 30s, right? Here are the set of lessons. I have 3. We're gonna start with the very first lesson. Make sure to make friends with people who have empathy. This is a lesson that I thought I already knew. Like when I think about all my collection of friends that I have currently, all of them have empathy, right? But I never took into account having empathy for people that you don't like. Now, taking note of how my friends treat people that they don't like now, like the people that I'm still friends with now, there's nobody who's going out of their way to villainize or harm or talk badly or treat badly the people that they don't like. But the friendship that I had was with the person who did not treat people that they didn't like very kindly. I am the type of person where when I'm friends with somebody, I'm always gonna be on their side. Like, I am friends with this person. I've seen all of their good points. There's a reason why they're behaving this way, and I'm going to be on their side before anybody else, right? My other friends that I have never really do anything to where I have to be like, I guess I have to be on their side during this, even though what they're doing is kind of rude. I don't think I have any friends that are rude to people, even the people that they don't like. Usually they just try to put space between them and that person. But if they are in proximity to that person, there's an understanding that even though they don't like that person is still a human being and deserves some type of basic respect. That's how all my previous friends moved, but I was in a friendship with somebody who did not move that way. And I was always like, maybe they have their reason for doing so. That was a mistake. This lesson that I've learned, this number one lesson, is that you need to make sure, this is for me, even though I'm saying you, I need to make sure that I'm connecting with people who have empathy even for their enemies. This may be triggering for some people. I do understand that there are some people that feel like if this person doesn't like me and I don't like them, I shouldn't have to treat them with respect, especially in very serious situations where you're at risk for being mentally harmed or even physically harmed. But I'm not really talking about those more extreme cases where it's like fight or flight. I'm talking about the more lighter situations in life. For me personally, I am no longer going to be accepting people into my life who cannot show basic kindness even to people that they don't have a good relationship with. There's a standard level of tact that I have with people when I don't like them. And I do expect from now on to connect myself to people who are similar to me in that way. And if you can't do it, it's totally fine. I just won't be able to maintain a friendship with you because I think this type of behavior in the future can lead to more severe red flags for the relationship. If your friend starts to dislike you, you get in conflict with your friend and they're not able to handle it it, like how you treat people you don't like is how you're going to treat somebody if you start to not like them. And that is my reason for learning this friendship lesson and instilling it into my brain. Another part of this lesson is performative empathy. It's what you do when you're among other people and you want praise. You'll do things and you'll do tasks because you know it makes you look like you're an empathetic person rather than truly being an empathetic person. The way you're able to kind of weed these types of people out is to see how they behave in very high pressure situations where they have something to lose. When it comes to like more superficial, not as serious situations where they can kind of step up and pretend to save the day, like it's really, really difficult to figure out if it's truly empathetic, but the high pressure situations, you will be able to deduce whether they choose themselves or think about other people. It's those high pressure situations where you'll be able to see whether or not somebody's empathy is performative or not. I always felt like there are people in life who have like very low self-esteem. So anything to help them feel better about themselves. I don't think you're a terrible person because you engage in performative empathy. I understand that there's like a child wound that you're trying to fill. You want everybody to look at you. So when I observe performative empathy, it's like, okay, that's just something that person does. But now performative empathy is definitely a red flag. It's a red flag alongside not having empathy for enemies. I know that sounds so bad, but like both of those things paired together, maybe there's a little bit of performative empathy that I'll accept from people going forward who have like really deep-rooted self-esteem issues, as long as they also have empathy alongside of that. Maybe they'll have moments of performative empathy, but that's still a red flag. Mind you, a friendship with me is like not the best thing in the world, okay? It's cool. Like I'm just a human being, but this is my video and I'm mostly talking about friendship as it pertains to me. So I also don't want to go through this video like, well, you can't be friends with me if you don't have this. There's more humans in the world than me, okay? I'm just sharing with other people in case they can understand what I'm saying, in case they're learning the same lessons as well. Those two things side by side, performative empathy and people who don't have empathy for people that they don't like. Those are very important lessons that I will be taking with me into my 30s. So here's the next lesson, number 2 out of 3. Make sure any friends that you have, you're able to have conflict with and get the conflict resolved. This, hands down, within this bunch of lessons, is something that you would think is common sense. Because of the personality that I have, I rarely get in conflicts with people because I just communicate. I'm not saying to stage some type of conflict, but at this point I'm like, God damn, maybe you have to. Maybe you have to. I'm not going to get into it too much, but me and the person that I had my little friendship breakup with, right, had never really been in any conflict. So when a conflict came years later, for me, it was just really weird that there was any type of falling out. I was like, are we really fighting over this? And I even reached out to the person and was like, hey, you want to hang out, like casually? And they were still pissed. And I was confused because for me, none of my friendships have ever been, we have a disagreement, like a very, very simple verbal disagreement over something, and then they just stopped talking to me. So for me, I was blindsided, but then I had to realize after observing that person that that's how they treat everybody that they have conflict with. There's a lot of stonewalling that happens. Once I realized that, I realized the mistake that I made. Make sure you can have conflict with your friends. Me and my best friend in the whole world, we discuss things so much. So when I think back on our timeline, I can't even remember any times we've ever had conflict. But then I have to remember the fact that we communicate so well. We have so many disagreements that are solved with just basic conversations. Even poking at each other, laughing and going back and forth. I haven't had any communication issues with any of my friends. So it was very weird being in a situation where somebody like gets upset and then cuts off communication, because that's not my personal experience for friendship. One of the most valued things in all of my friendships have been communication. But here's the thing. Just because people are good at communication during times where there's no turmoil does not mean that they will be good at communication during times that there is turmoil. That is a very, very valuable lesson that I will be taking with me. If you've observed how a person can't really handle having conflict with others in general, it's best you don't befriend them or connect yourself to them. And it's better you find this out sooner rather than later. Like I said, I was pretty deeply invested in this friendship. So I was super confused. I was like, what is going on? But then when I realized that there were so many moments where I should have like tuned in and watched, that's when everything came together. Like, no, this whole conflict isn't about me. This is about them and how they handle conflict, and they're not able to handle it. So I'm like, damn, I could have learned this lesson earlier. I am still learning how valuable it is to observe people before connecting yourself with them. And here's to stray off a little bit. You guys are going to think I'm crazy for this too, but I'm going to put this next to this lesson, like lesson number 2, because I don't have space for it. Another lesson that could be next to the conflict with friends lesson is not befriending people who don't like you at first. You're probably watching this video like, how could you become friends with somebody that you know doesn't like you? Hear me out, okay? Maybe I'm a little too accepting of people. I'm working on it. This is why I had to start being serious, like carrying myself in a more serious way and observing people before talking, because I really am a super open person. I try to be understanding and also remember that, hey, there are people who think differently than you. There are people who carry themselves differently than you. There are people with different traumas, different life experiences than you. Also, at the same time, just because those people exist doesn't mean you have to attach yourself to them. I'm learning. My outlook on people who don't like me upon first meeting me is that that's okay. Maybe with all your life experiences, I remind you of somebody. There could be countless reasons why you don't like me. That's fine. You know, maybe I'll grow on you. Maybe I won't. Who cares? The door is still open. That is stupid. That is stupid. That is stupid. That is stupid. And not stupid in the sense where my mind has changed and I think there's something wrong with people who don't like other people upon first meeting them. Like I said, I don't think everybody is able to separate people from the things that they do like I am. Like, I'm talking about strangers. I'm not talking about like a murder or anything, okay? Although I very rarely have these experiences, I do need to be very wise befriending people who don't like me at first. I think it's one of those things that I can afford to discard. I don't lose anything by cutting those people out. They didn't like me when they first met me, probably shouldn't talk to them. And I'm saying that because I know for sure this person did not like me when they first met me. There were so many signs of them not liking me. Sometimes they would say stuff to me and I'd be like, that was pretty weird. But again, I just never really took it to heart because it is what it is. You don't know me. At this point, this is a self-lecture. Savette, no more connecting yourself to people who do not like you when they first meet you. There are so many other people you can befriend that are neutral or that like you. You actually don't need the category of people whose first impressions of you is negative. You don't need that category at all. And finally, we will move on to the third lesson, which I feel like is the most valuable lesson in this video. Please learn about narcissism and how to spot narcissism. I wanted to do a whole video concerning narcissism, but it was a lot. I'm trying to keep the videos that I make on this channel like short and sweet and just conversational. So I don't know if I'm gonna do it, but one of the reasons why I was even able to go through my healing process faster is because I got a chance to learn about narcissism. I started learning about narcissism because of more romantic relationship things. The information ended up being valuable in my friendships, coworkers, family. Like, learning about narcissism has solved so many of my problems, and it's given me so much wisdom. It does not matter if you don't know for sure if the person is a narcissist. What actions are they doing? You don't need to report it or tell people. Just separate yourself from that individual. If you believe it is a narcissistic person, just let that be your proof to keep yourself away from that person. And that was one of the things that made it so I was able to heal when I realized that there's a lot of narcissistic tendencies that this person has that make it to where it would actually be more valuable if I separated myself from them now rather than later. because it could have been so much worse. So much worse. So there's a couple of things that I now look for when it comes to trying to find out who I want to attach myself to, because they might be a narcissist, right? Like I said, we may never know if they really are, but it don't matter. It just matters what observations you're making. One thing I look for is a person who is always quick to turn themselves into a victim whenever there's any conflict. All of the narcissists that I've ever met in my life, or the people who I believe to be narcissists, have that same pattern of speech. The only time they talk like down about themselves is if it doesn't really benefit anybody else. There are situations where they will use negative self-talk to get attention and to get validation. But I'm talking about people who, when in conflict, immediately switch their speech to victim speech. This has been hands down one of the most valuable tools when it comes to observing people. Whenever people are talking around me, I listen to how they talk about situations, if they accept any blame in situations, if they pour out any empathy, whether they're capable of being like, hey, even though I'm feeling really crappy about this situation, I think the reason why this person did this is because of this. That needs to be heard in speech. If you can't even think of them ever doing that, then you need to stay away from that person. Once you pick that up and you hear people talk, you can honestly find yourself being repulsed. And then you'll start to see patterns like, wait a second, how is it that every single conflict that they're in, like every single serious conflict, there's never any talking about what they might have done? That is honestly invaluable. That has really helped me navigate which people I'm willing to make friends with and which people to just ignore and not connect myself to. I can't align myself with somebody who only thinks about themselves and isn't capable of thinking about other people in a way that isn't fake or like a presentation. So that is one part of narcissism that I learned about, finding people who were quick to make themselves the victim. Second part of narcissism that I learned about was making sure to watch how people treat people they don't like, which I already kind of discussed in either part 1 or 2, but we're going to go into it a little bit more. Narcissists can be like day and night when it comes to the people they like and the people they don't like. So it's very, very important you watch how much rage and coldness that narcissistic people treat people they don't like with. Say a group of people they don't like, because it tends to be a pattern. And it's like, damn, so every single person who you have conflict with or don't like is the worst person on earth. That is very, very important to look for. And sometimes I feel like you can be soaking up the essence of this person, the connection that you have with them, that you think that this is okay. Again, I mentioned that I've always been the type of person where my friends, I'm going to have their backs. If they don't like somebody, I'm going to be thinking to myself, well, obviously there's a reason why they don't like that person. But I'm talking about very, very small things. Somebody does something small to your friend and they seem like they're like a completely different person. Just nasty, basically. You need to look for that person that is looking for ears to talk to about this terrible thing that this person did to them for them to treat this person unwell. It is very performative. Narcissists tend to care a lot about how people perceive them. So it's going to be a performance of sorts. And the last thing I learned about in the narcissism category was about stonewalling. I always felt like if you were like silent, it was because the person was like mourning or thinking, contemplating life. But learning about stonewalling was invaluable because I realized that there are people that are silent because it gives them power. They use their silence as a tool of war. When I think of being silent, I think of it being kind of reflective, not really as a defense mechanism. I can just communicate. I can defend myself with my words. We can have a conversation. But there are people who are not like that at all. Learning about stonewalling, not in just the situation with this ex-friend, right? Learning about stonewalling just in other points in my life with situations with other people, like finally learning what it is and the signs of it. It just took so much weight off my shoulders. You should read this book by Dr. Ramani. This book was a part of my healing. And more than anything, it allowed me to kind of feel disgusted about the situation that I was in. Like, it is important for me to feel negatively about that situation and see it as something that was not good for me, because it wasn't. No matter how much it hurts, when you disconnect yourself from a person, there's no going back. There should be a sense of completion, hopefully. And I've felt this not only in this situation, but in some romantic relationships. There's a sense of completion, like an era has ended. And though it was very difficult to navigate, I was given the tools and the understanding to make it out. And now I feel super strong. I feel wiser. Some of these lessons, man, very, very important for me to learn in my 30s, because I am actually at a stage now where I can go out and make friends. You know, one of my resolutions for this year is to create a friendship circle, because I've lived here for a while. I like people. I like being around people. I don't think one friendship breakup in like all the people that I've ever been friends with, it's really not that bad. Not only am I at peace, I just feel super excited about the future, which leads me to this last bit. You guys don't have to sit for this last bit. In the beginning, remember how I said I lost a friend but gained a friend? I gained a new friend, and the reason why I decided to formally request for us to be friends, which I've never, I wouldn't say I haven't done this. I probably haven't done it since grade school. Maybe in grade school, I would go up to people and be like, let's be friends. I've probably done it once or twice, maybe in middle school, but I'm 30 now, and I met somebody who showed an incredible amount of empathy. I've actually never seen anybody show as much empathy in such a serious situation as this person. And the crazy thing is, I can also see some things about them that I find super annoying. There are ways that they annoy me, but I've never been somebody who just decides not to be friends with a person just because they do things that annoy me. Expecting somebody to be a perfect copy of you, to never do anything that you dislike, is really unrealistic. I have really realistic expectations for my friends. Sometimes they're gonna annoy me. Sometimes we're gonna have disagreements. Like, it's okay. You can't control people. I allow, for the most part, my friends to kind of be their own people. Like this person, definitely we have some views that oppose. I don't know if I'm saying that right. We have some views that conflict, but because of how much empathy that I've seen them exude in situations that are very, very highly stressful, I admire them and I think they're really, really cool. So I asked if we could be friends. They were like, really? We can be friends? And I'm like, yeah, we could totally be friends. Oh my God, I feel like I'm in grade school again. One of the things that's very interesting is the fact that they are an atheist, and my best friend, she is the closest thing to me ever. We've been friends for like 10 plus years. It's been amazing. She is one of the most important people in my life to me. And I say one because I have a child. He's also important, right? Me and her have discussions all the time about having an inner circle of friends and an outer circle. For me, again, I don't think you have to align with somebody 100% for them to be your friend. I feel like there are going to be friends that you have that are more outer circle than inner circle. So me and her were talking about how the heck to add people to the inner circle. And there's no way you're going to be able to add people to the inner circle without going through multiple friendship dates, multiple meetings, like actually getting to know a person. You can't just quickly fast forward that process, right? So we were talking about maybe some basic requirements to weed out people and pull people in. And one of the things that we said about this person that I met recently is that maybe they won't be an inner circle person because they're an atheist. And let me explain, okay? Let me explain before people get on me, okay? I don't care what you believe in, just believe in something. Buddha, Mother Nature, like Christian, it doesn't bother me. Like Catholics, I tend to not get along with atheists because when it comes to any deep talks beyond what you can just see, they're not able to carry them. And that is something that's kind of just been a pattern that I've noticed. I typically don't get along with people who are atheists. There are multiple reasons for it, but it seems to be a pattern. Me and my best friend, we kind of consider this person an experiment. They have a lot of depth, but there is a wall that gets hit whenever you try to talk about anything that cannot be seen with the human eye. I have some spirituality that is there, and I expect my inner circle of friends to have something. This person does not have any of that at all, but again, I was blindsided with empathy. So it's kind of like a little experiment, but I genuinely think that me and them and my best friend, because she always has to be the person who approves the new person. That's another rule I should add. The best friend has to check everybody. I've ignored her advice before. Savette, I don't think you and that person are, she's always right, even if I go through with it. It's been a process, like getting to know friends. You don't know if you're super incompatible with certain types of people until you actually hang out with them. So she has called it out like, Savette, you and that person, you guys don't connect. And I have ignored her and been like, ENFP, we're gonna do it anyway. I'm having fun regardless if I never see the person again or if I do. But her intrigue at this person that we've absorbed into our friend group is very, very funny. We're even talking about having a second inner circle. She's like, wait, maybe there should be a circle outside of the inner circle, but within the outer circle. We're doing all kinds of like mental gymnastics to make sense of it because, you know, the human brain categorizes things naturally. So we do this, it's fun, but this person for the most part has shown exceptional qualities to where the things that irk me about them don't. It's fine. Like, I'll live. And you know, it's so nice. Another thing that I didn't really mention in the video is having people that you're not afraid to bring certain things up with. That's perhaps something I should have put in the video. I think that is a red flag when you feel like you can't bring up certain topics because the person might be offended. The energy will change. This person, I just realized it, I can speak freely in their presence. And it just feels so empowering to be able to be like, yeah, I don't agree with you there. And then me and them go back and forth and they're like, okay, I've heard your piece. I completely disagree, but let's agree to disagree. It's very exciting, this journey that I'm on, being 30, getting to know new people and going into friendships with the wisdom that I've gained in my 20s. It's been a wonderful life of friendships so far. Like, I genuinely think human connection is so important, and I cannot wait to connect with more people IRL. I already have people that I'm friends with online. I got a message the other day like, can we be friends? And I'm like, listen, I really do want to be friends, but I cannot give so many people attention online. Like, I'm definitely an IRL person. I'm sorry. If you were here in the town that I lived in, I could hang out with you every other day and I would love that. But you're on the internet. I'm probably not going to message you for 3 weeks. I'm sorry. But yeah, this ends the video. This video is going to be longer than what I originally intended for it to be. This is Savette's diary. It's much easier to do this, to just chat and yap, compared to my other channel where I actually have to like structure things a little bit more because it's not about me. It's about the Japanese rock music or the anime or whatever the heck I'm talking about. This is just going to be talking. And if you guys are open to hear me yap, along with my neighbors upstairs who are probably tired. I've been talking for like 2 hours straight and like the walls are thin. If you are open to hearing me yap, then subscribe, like the video, and definitely leave comments if you've been through a friendship breakup, if you feel like you have learned friendship lessons that you would like to share in your 20s, if you are in your 40s and you feel like there are some friendship lessons that you want to share with me. I love advice. I used to take Ubers and I would like get in the car with like an old person. Immediately I would be like, do you have any life advice for me? Do you have any life advice? I need some life advice. Like a freaking druggie. It's very funny because a lot of times people's perspectives conflict, but you got to understand that it depends on certain situations. People have different life experiences. Regardless, I still hold all of those accounts, the advice that I get, very valuably. Valuably? Is that? You know, it don't matter. It don't matter. We're at the end. So yeah, if you want to leave a comment, I keep picking up my drink and like not drinking it. I'm very thirsty. Hopefully I'll be able to figure out what to bring to my diary weekly. I'm saying hopefully, but I won't have a problem at all. I can yap. I was going to do a whole podcast, but we're going to have to start off with this. Maybe in the future, me and my best friend will do a podcast. We've been talking about it where we just yap about life because life is important. Life is so important. Now let me stop yapping in this video. Thank you guys for watching. If you made it through this whole thing, thank you so much. I really wanted to document how it feels right now in this moment. I'm so happy. I'm so hopeful. And I feel like an abundance of wisdom has just been obtained. And I feel like it's going to last me my entire 30s. And I'm going to meet some pretty awesome people. So, yeah. Peace out.